Viking Cruises offers destination-focused, culturally immersive experiences designed for the discerning traveler. Enjoy the ease of unpacking once, the company of like-minded guests, impeccable service, and breathtaking landscapes. Glide through Europe on a serene river voyage, or sail to the world's most iconic cities on a small ocean or expedition ship. Wherever you go, Viking ensures your voyage is as fulfilling as the destination. AAA members can receive up to $400 in shipboard credit to make the journey even more rewarding.
Travel has a lot of benefits. It takes us away from the ordinary, gives us the space to explore new cultures and to try new things. But travel also has a deeper power, a transformative power, something like a wow factor that makes these experiences memorable. It's called awe, and it might be the most important reason we pack our bags in the first place. We spend a lot of time on this podcast talking about where to go and what to do and all the logistics of travel, but today we're flipping the script just a little to talk about something deeper. One of the real reasons we pack our bags and hit the road in the first place. Awe. Joining me today is Sandy Cohen, a health writer, coach, and educator on a mission to make wellness more practical and accessible. As a journalist, her work has appeared in the AP, the New York Times, and the LA Times. She hosts the podcast Inner Peace to Go, and she recently wrote a story about the health benefits of awe while traveling for Westways and AAA Explorer. Sandy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You wrote about awe and travel in the recent issues of Westways and AAA Explorer. So what initially sparked your interest in that?
Well, I am interested in practical mental health strategies. Like, what can we do to make ourselves less stressed, more calm, happier, all of the things. And the research on awe, particularly that has come out in recent years, is really compelling. Dr. Keltner, he is one of the premier researchers on awe. He's out of the University of California, Berkeley. And this book goes into a lot of the research on awe. It talks about cultural differences. It talks about how to find awe. And I use this as a resource when I was preparing to write this story. This feeling of awe, this wow, right? When you feel like, oh my gosh, or wow, that is really good for us. It's really good for us mentally and physically. And to me, the connections with travel were just so natural and almost obvious, because when we travel, we're often going to really beautiful places or historic places, or we're going to some kind of big festival or event. And all of those things can naturally generate awe. So it's a perfect fit.
You're a person who travels a good bit. So did you have a particularly transformative moment of awe while traveling that kind of got you into this?
I've had so many awe-inspiring moments while traveling, but I'll tell you an experience of awe that I literally just had like 2 weeks ago, which is we were on a ski trip in Mammoth, California. And we had a beautiful sunny day. It was clear blue skies, and we were on top of the mountain, and you could just see, it felt like you could see for miles. And the site of Mammoth is ringed by mountains. So it's in the Sierra Nevada mountains. So there's all these majestic mountains around, and these mountains are tens of millions of years old. And people have been drawn to these mountains for thousands of years. And I'm about to like sail down, and it was just an awe-inspiring experience. We stopped to take a picture, and when you look around, you think, wow, I'm up here on this huge mountain.
So how would you define awe, and why is the feeling of awe so important?
The researchers who've been studying awe define it as the feeling we get in the presence of something vast that challenges and expands our understanding of the world. So that's why nature, big nature, is such a perfect one, right? So researchers have found 8 what they call wonders of awe. These are the things that inspire awe. And this is pretty universal. Moral beauty, which is kindness, goodwill between humans. Collective effervescence. This is like when everyone used to put their lighters up at a concert, or if you're dancing and everyone's dancing, that sort of collective feeling could be at a religious event. Nature, music, visual design, whether that's art or architecture, spiritual and religious experiences, epiphanies, when you have that sudden light bulb moment, and then stories or experiences of life and death. So those are the things that generate awe. You know you're experiencing awe when you find yourself going, wow, or whoa, or you just have that kind of slack jaw, big eyed response. You might get goosebumps, and that's an awe moment. And these moments, even if they're fleeting, I mean, that moment on top of the mountain did not last long, but these moments have such profound benefits for us. So, one of the things researchers have found is that it quiets the self referential parts of our brain. So, where we might do ruminating or self criticism, like the volume goes down on those, which is really good for our system mentally and physically. So, it shifts us out of like, I'm primed for danger into I'm calm, I'm safe.
Mm.
Even though awe can sometimes create a feeling of like surprise, it actually generates a feeling of calm in the body. It reduces inflammation, both in the moment and over time. They can see that we exhibit fewer of these inflammatory markers in our body, which is really good for our health. It inspires a feeling of connection. They think it's connected to this, the hormone oxytocin, which is called the love hormone, and this feeling of connection with other people, reduces stress, improves cardiovascular health. And then it also enhances our sense of meaning and purpose, that feeling of connection to something vast.
Not that I need an excuse to travel, but if it's that good for my health, how can I say no to that, right?
It. Like you gotta do it. Exactly.
You gotta, I can justify any expenditure if it's to make my cardiovascular health better, right? So it can lower your stress, it can reduce pain, it can improve cardiovascular health. How do we factor this in to our travel? How do we kind of hack it into our itineraries? Because you don't plan to be odd. It is something that kind of just happens to you, right?
Yes, and you can look for it. When we travel, we're often, I would say almost unwittingly looking for awe, because we're going to go to like a beautiful beach, or we're going to go see some historic buildings, and all of those things can inspire awe. What you really want to have when you're looking for awe, or when you want to experience awe, is you want to be paying attention, and you want to have the intention of being delighted or filled with wonder. So just by going on a trip, we, I think, set ourselves up for it. So awe is most likely to occur when there's novelty and when there's physical vastness. So novelty is kind of built into travel for so many of us, particularly if we're going to a new place. But even if it's a place we visited before, we haven't visited it this time till now, right? So that novelty really helps. Travel also helps because we're hopefully a little more unplugged from our day-to-day responsibilities. We have set aside this time to travel. So, and then we're in this novel place. So our senses are kind of heightened. I'm sure you've experienced this. You travel to a place where you don't speak the language, and even just getting food is an adventure. And those kinds of experiences can help inspire awe. You want to be open to it, be open to being delighted, and allow yourself to feel it. When my husband and I went to Costa Rica, and he was so taken with the sunsets. He was like time lapse filming the sunsets every night. Now, sunsets, as far as I know, happen every single day, no matter where you are. And yet, when you're on vacation or when you're traveling, you have that sort of novel perspective on the sunset. We live here in Southern California on the coast, and we can see people travel here to see the sunset. So that's an example of where paying attention and having the intention to enjoy a spectacular moment or a spectacular experience is really the shift you want to make to get that awe.
No, that's such a good point, because you have the ocean in California. We have the ocean here in Florida. I'm much more excited about your ocean because it's not the one I see and put my toes in all the time. So that one is just kind of automatically going to give me more awe. I'm outside of my own sphere, and I don't have to worry about, did I remember to lock the door, and got to get home to feed the dogs, because I'm just out of my little space. And so you do have more room. I guess that's why it's so much easier to find awe when you're traveling.
I think for sure. And also, I mean, you're out of your normal routine. Like you said with the pets, like here, I know what time we feed the pets. We have the things that we normally do. And sometimes that might prevent me from seeing the sunset or noticing. And
Mm.
when you're traveling, you have a little more freedom in your mind to notice those awesome moments.
So, what are some of the common types of travel experiences that are like most likely to trigger awe for people?
Well, definitely nature. So I would say going to any kind of, national park or beach or, the glaciers, any big
Mm.
nature would be a prime place to experience awe. Architecture. So buildings that you've kind of, historic buildings you're coming to check out, ruins, things like that, rock formations, all of that, I think would inspire awe. And then collective effervescence, going to a festival, witnessing a big spiritual event or participating in some kind of concert or even a sporting event. This can all bring about awe because you have that feeling of being connected to something vast, whether that's a
Mm.
big crowd at a ballpark or, dancing at Coachella.
I would say I've experienced it in a lot of different places, and seeing the Grand Canyon, awesome, right? First time you lay eyes on it, it really is just incredible. But then also, I think I've been to see Hamilton a bunch of times, and that awes me, every time because it's so brilliant, and I'm a word person, and I love the wordplay, and it just brings tears to my eyes. So, what are some other examples of travel experiences that might inspire awe for people?
Well, I think something like going to see the Northern Lights,
Mm.
like this mystery in the sky, and, it's unpredictable, and yet there it is, and you're so
Mm.
tiny. I think that would be just absolutely awesome. Any kind of vibrant street scene, like if you've been in like a night market in Vietnam or some kind of vibrant street scene where there's so much hustle and bustle and seeing the remnants of Machu Picchu, for example, or like seeing Stonehenge or seeing the pyramids. You just can't fathom it. Seeing like Niagara Falls or Iguazu
Oh,
Falls, seeing the Notre Dame Cathedral or the Taj Mahal, these big, vast things. But I also think there's something to it when it's something that you've seen either on TV or in movies, and now you're standing there.
yeah.
I
Hmm.
think that can be like, wow, here it is. I know a lot of people feel that about seeing the Hollywood sign here in Los Angeles, where I am. They just like, wow, it's been on TV so many times, and now I'm standing there looking
Mm.
at it. So that feeling of vastness doesn't have to be miles of beach. It can it can be simpler than that.
The vibrant street scene that made me think of Songkran in Southeast Asia, when everybody is shooting each other with water guns for a week, and it just goes absolutely berserk. Normally very kind of calm and staid and stoic, especially in like Laos. Everybody's usually very chill, and this time of year they just come alive, and everybody's splashing you in the face with buckets of water and ice and truly squirt guns everywhere you look. Little kids are chasing you down the street. That was one of the most memorable moments of my travels. And it wasn't nature. It was just people all doing a fun thing together in a colorful, vibrant place. And it was just, it impacted me in such a big way.
Collective effervescence. That's exactly it. Like we're all having this fun time. And I'm sure you've seen, I've never gone to this, but I'd love to do this as well. They do that color powder in India,
Yeah.
and everyone's just like tossing color around, and it's so beautiful. And people are like having fun, and maybe you're like dodging the color, or maybe you're running towards the color. And that's like one of those experiences of collective
Mm.
effervescence where you're just connected to your fellow human beings, to this very moment, to this very place. And that is awesome.
So, how can we be intentional in seeking out awe inspiring moments when we're traveling?
Well, we want to, just as you said, be intentional. Think, I'm going to allow myself to experience awe, and then pay attention.
Mm.
Put your phone away and look around and really be there. Maybe you're going to pull the phone out to take a picture, but let yourself be there. So really the intention and the paying attention, those are the two key things. And then allow yourself to be drawn by delight and wonder. Even
Mm.
if it is something simple like the sunset, if you're into it and you're taken by it, be with it and indulge it and let that feeling take you there. Travel is really a natural place to experience awe because we're out of our usual element. novelty is such a key thing, but then we got to pay attention. You want to be open-minded, and then again, allow delight and wonder to be your guide. You don't know where you might find awe.
I think this is so important for the planner of the trip, because that is usually me. I'm usually the one coordinating the itinerary and making sure that everybody else has awe. All the other people who are traveling with me, family, husband, I want them to experience awe and see the great thing. And I'm planning that out for them. But I have to make sure as the planner that I factor that in for me too. And make sure when I wake up every day, I say, what am I finding? Like, where's the awe for me in this day? Because listen, I'm planning fishing trips for my husband every time I take him somewhere, because we have to put fishing in. I am not having awe from fishing at all. I'm usually, motion sick almost every time, seasick. So, but he's having awe. So it really is about like making sure that you're fitting that in, no matter who's in charge, no matter what activity, making sure that you make that time and be intentional. Bottom line, be intentional.
Be intentional and maybe allow yourself a little space so that you can find awe. When I was thinking about this conversation, I was thinking, a kid can find awe in watching cotton candy being made. Why can't that be awesome to us if we just allow ourselves to be like, what is cotton candy anyway? And like, just to give ourselves that moment. Now, if we're super fixated on, but we have to be at the museum at 3 and it's 2:57, then it's going to be hard to let yourself be in that moment. And I also want to reiterate that awe is not something like, this is not an hours long experience. It's often fleeting. You just have a moment of wow, and then it's gone. And that means it can fit in anytime. But really, like you said, the thing is really to be intentional and to allow that space for it. I want to share one other thing. This was an unexpected moment of awe. We were in Banff, Canada for a film festival, and we were standing outside the theater getting ready to go in, and an elk came by. An elk is huge. And I have grown up in Los Angeles where there are no elk. And an elk came right by, and I couldn't believe it. There's all these people milling about getting ready to go in the theater, and this elk walked by, and I happened to have my phone in my hand. And so I shot a couple seconds of footage, and you can hear me in the video go, wow. And now that was a moment of awe. And it was just as soon as it began, it was over.
Just a couple of weeks ago, we were on the beach just walking, and we saw a pod of probably 100 dolphins. And I've never seen that many at the beach, just in my town. And I was squealing on the beach. I was so excited. And so that was my sort of awe moment. And I was kind of surprised at how giddy I was. It's not the first time I've seen dolphins, but there were so many, and it was such a surprise. So it can happen anywhere.
It can happen anywhere. It reminds me of a time we walked down to the beach here, and there happened to be like a kite festival. And so there was hundreds of kites in the sky. And it's just such a fantastic experience. It's almost even better when it's unexpected.
It takes you back to that time when everything did kind of delight you. Every bug, every butterfly, those things were all so exciting. And then you grow up and you have so much other stuff to think about. So you don't really have time every day to be delighted by every little thing. But it's nice to stop and pause and be delighted.
Exactly. And it's something that we can do when we intentionally decide to do that. Like, let me look for a moment of delight. I was doing a awe walk where you're looking for awe right there in your own neighborhood. I happened to see these beads of water on a big succulent across the street. There's a big succulent plant, and there were beads of water on it. And it was like so beautiful. And I never normally notice that, because I normally have my podcast on and I'm like fitness walking and whatever. And so really having that intention to allow for delight, allow myself to be delighted, or allow myself to be captivated by wonder. And then you can really find awe almost anywhere.
And now for the AAA Travel Minute, brought to you by Viking. We all want to stay safe when we travel abroad, but it's not always easy to decipher U.S. Department of State travel advisories. Fortunately, with additional research, travelers can get a clearer picture of how safe their vacation destination is and how to make smart choices when they get there. The agency ranks each foreign country's safety on a scale of 1 to 4, with level 4 being destinations that pose the greatest threat. Anything from civil unrest to street crime to the ability to cope with potential natural disasters can affect a nation's rank. And safety conditions can vary widely within a country. That means that reading advisories closely is essential. Other agencies, like the United Kingdom's Foreign and Commonwealth Office, often discuss travel risks in even greater detail. While a level 2 or 3 advisory may not necessarily mean you should call off a trip, it should inform decisions during your stay. If there's trouble at the border, avoid it. If roads are unsafe, hire a driver rather than renting a car, or simply limit time on roads. And always sign up for country-specific alerts through the U.S. Department of State's free Smart Traveler Enrollment Program.
So how can these experiences become souvenirs that shift our perspective? How do we take that home with us and invite awe and that fleeting feeling? How do we bring that home from a trip?
Well, one of the great things about it is sharing it with others. Like you telling me about the pod of dolphins, I feel wow when you tell me that. And that is one way to really have it as a souvenir. These moments, we can collect them, right? If we're aware of awe and open to awe, then we can experience it often. And we can share this with the people when we're talking about our trip, like telling you about seeing that elk. Really, the souvenir is that memory, and then sort of savoring that experience, reflecting. Even as you were telling me about the dolphins, I bet you could feel just a teeny bit of that giddiness from that day. And even as I'm telling you about the elk, I'm remembering how big it was when it walked by me. And that we get to keep. I mean, I have that, and I can call upon it whenever I share that story.
How do we extend these benefits after returning home and maybe showing kindness as an example? Showing kindness is definitely an example. We can always choose to be kind. Even witnessing kindness is really powerful. So seeing someone else help someone across the street or pick up their dropped groceries, that's really powerful. But you can find awe in your own neighborhood, in your own community with intention. As I mentioned about seeing the droplets of water on that succulent plant, that was right here. And I always walk by it. I never notice it. But with intention, because I was like, what can I find that's awesome? I was able to see it. So when we choose to sort of slow down, even just go spend 5 minutes. Can you walk around your neighborhood for 5 minutes and look for what delights you? You might be delighted by something unexpected that you normally overlook. Maybe there's a little bright yellow flower that's kind of sprouting from the cement, or maybe you see like a really dorky looking dog and it just gives you that feeling of wow, or cool. These are the little bite-sized awe moments that we can really find anywhere. Like we said before, I think it's easier when you're traveling because you just have a little more mental space and maybe more time, but really awe is available to us anywhere. And maybe a good suggestion for somebody who's about to go on a vacation and wants to experience awe on the trip, maybe spend a couple days before you do that and do that awe walk like you did and notice some small things in your own neighborhood and start pointing your brain toward small details and noticing and not just being so wrapped up in the day-to-day.
Excellent advice, because awe is happening all the time. We just don't usually notice it. That, like I said before, there's sunsets every night. And if you don't go out there and look at the colors and take a beat to perceive it, then you already missed it. And that was an opportunity for awe that you missed. And yet the people who are on vacation where you live or where I live are totally engrossed in it,
They say, oh, you have the best sunsets here. And I'm like, really? Well, that's fascinating because I'm in the house and I had no idea. Every so often I'll end up outside at sunset and I'm like, wow, would you look at that? It's spectacular out here. It's pink and purple and wonderful. And it's my backyard. And you're right. It happens every day. And so many things that just zoom by us because really we're zooming by them.
I had once heard an exercise. It was a mindfulness teacher telling us to notice how many shades of green there are in a park or on your block. And you think, oh yeah, the trees are green as though it's all one green. But when you pay attention, you notice many, many, many greens. And maybe that is just a teensy taste of awe, of vastness. Who knew there were so many shades of green? And how lucky am I to just perceive it right now?
I always think about the folks who live in Cairo and how they've just got the pyramids in their backyard and they've got the Sphinx in their backyard and they're just doing life. They are probably not walking outside every day saying, wow, pyramids, because you just can't be in awe all day, every day. But then people like me go there and I'm just gobsmacked, standing in the sand,
completely blown away. And they're like, yeah, come on, let's go to the next thing, you know?
But novelty really helps, right? So like if you see the pyramids every day, it's not novel to you. I don't get wowed by the Hollywood sign. I see it all the time. So
Mhm.
novelty really helps. But can we invite ourselves to experience novelty even in the familiar? I was doing one of these awe walks another time and I noticed a tree on my block and it's a really big tree. And I was like, wow, that's a cool tree. Has that always been here? And it's like, yeah, it's obvious.
Yeah.
You could tell it's obviously like many decades old, but I had walked by it so many times and never noticed it. So can we bring that
Mm.
kind of novel awareness, even though, as I said, it's fleeting. Maybe you notice the tree and then, 10 seconds later, you're thinking about what you have to do. But can we be open to those moments to just experience that little bit of wow? Not only because it's so good for us, but also because it feels good. How delightful it was to see those dolphins, right? Like how spectacular it was to see that elk. It just feels good.
And it sounds like because awe is a relatively fleeting feeling, whether you're seeing an elk or at the beach seeing a pod of dolphins or on your street noticing a tree you've never noticed, it's not really about the location. So I'm guessing that means that the health benefits come to you whether you've traveled across the world for this awe or whether you're finding it closer to home.
That is absolutely true. It is an emotion. It's a natural human emotion, happens to provide these health benefits. So the research is relatively recent, I would say within the last 2 decades, on what is awe actually, how do we define it, and what does it do for us? So this is a growing area of research. And yes, we get those benefits whenever we experience it. Not only the health benefits, but the mood benefits of like feeling delighted and feeling like your day got a little bit brighter because you had that moment.
What would be something that people would be surprised to learn about awe?
I guess that it's so accessible because I do think that it's because, as we talked about, it's easier to access when you're on a trip. Like you've planned to go to see Angkor Wat, you expect to be awed by it, right? You expect to be awed when you see it, but you didn't know that seeing droplets of water on a succulent was going to bring that feeling. So I think that's the surprising part, that you could feel it anytime. Or watching kindness. If you say you're at the airport and you're waiting for your flight and you see like a loving embrace from people who are, either just arrived or getting ready to go, or even on the stoop when you're getting dropped off and you see everybody hugging. I mean, that could be a moment of awe.
Yeah. Airports can be a stressful place to find awe, but it's there. I don't know. Have you ever seen Love Actually?
Yes, I was thinking of that too.
It really encapsulates that whole airport thing because it's where people come back together and they're so happy to be reunited and just seeing other people happy. Have you ever seen somebody holding a sign and they see their person and there's hugging and it's obviously a reunion? Like, I don't even care who those people are, but I'm crying. I'm loving it.
Same.
That makes my day. I love it.
Same. So that's that moral beauty. Or even something simple, like say somebody's wheeling their bag and like their headphones fell onto the floor and then someone chased them and brought it to them. Or I was reading something recently about someone who had dozed off at the gate and the boarding was happening and this person was traveling alone and had dozed off. And another passenger like came and woke them up and was like, I think you're on my same flight. And these are moments, this is not like the profundity of the pyramids, but this is kindness. This is moral beauty. And this exists. And we need it kind of now more than ever.
Yeah, because it regenerates, right? It's that whole idea of, I don't know, paying it forward and kindness begets kindness and generosity begets generosity. And the more you pay attention to it, the more it becomes part of your life and you're just day to day. And then next time you see somebody drop their scarf or their headphones, you're just going to run in, because you hope someone does it for you.
100%. And also that idea of experiencing awe does make us feel more connected. I mean, and maybe that's why those moments are so emotional when you see the reunion at the airport. It's like you can feel what they're feeling. You can feel how overjoyed they are to see one another again. And we feel that. We feel connected to them even when we don't know them. So that awe really it's paying it forward in like a really grand sense, because the more we feel connected to our fellow humans is the more likely we are to let someone in front of you on the freeway and even like mundane things like that.
And it's different for everybody. What's going to induce awe in you. When it's windy, like tropical storm windy, you can't get my mom in the house. She's on the porch just marveling at the trees and the sounds of the trees. And my brother and my husband, when they see a bass hit the top of the water to catch a fly, you've never seen happier people ever. Everybody's got something. So we kind of owe it to ourselves and our health to pay attention to what it is that does that for us, that gives us the goosebumps. How do we become better storytellers when we're sharing these experiences so that the people we bring them back to kind of can experience it too?
I think that our enthusiasm for the moment makes it a good story. And it also has the extra benefit of letting us relish that moment again. When you told me about the dolphins, I could feel your enthusiasm. I could imagine what it would look like to see that huge pod of dolphins, but I could also feel your enthusiasm that you had experienced when you saw it. So sharing awe experiences, I think, almost naturally help us be good storytellers, because we're telling you, we're sharing it because it was so moving or so exceptional or so interesting or powerful. So it has that natural element to it.
Yeah. And the more we tell it, the more we get to feel it again. I'm feeling it now. I'm remembering, oh, I did see those dolphins. That was a great day. That was such a fun moment that I won't forget. And I'm glad we got to talk about it, because my cardiovascular health is improving by the moment.
Yes, your stress levels are going down. Your oxytocin is going up. All good things.
If you're looking for more awe in your travel experiences, then be sure to tune in to our next episode. Sandy shares her top 5 awe-inspiring destinations. Sandy Cohen, thank you for joining us, and thank you to our listeners for being with us. If you're planning a trip, be sure to connect with a AAA travel advisor. Check out AAA.com/travel or visit your local branch. This podcast is a production of Auto Club Enterprises. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and leave us a review. I'm Angie Orth. Thank you for traveling with AAA.